Well, hello good people. Today I wanted to take a look at two models that I've been using lately, Protovision XL and Starlight XL. Although Protovision is known for its 3D photorealism, anime, and hyperrealism, I'm only comparing it to Starlight in terms of the 3D anime and hyperrealism, not the photorealism. At the time of recording this video, the latest version is 0.6.2, and this was made by social guitarist on Civet AI, who also created Dynavision and Night Vision XL, two very popular models on Civet AI. And for Starlight Animated, we're on version 3, created by Chill Pixel. And you might be familiar with him, who created Ninja, the Elixir Laura, and for SDXL, Blacklight Makeup, which is also Laura. Since most of the images I created were 3D hyper-realistic, I went with 40 steps, a CFG of 5, the sampler DPM++ 3M SDE Keras. Most of the images were 832 by 1248, all generated in Comfy UI. For the first set of images, we have Starlight on the right, Protovision on the left. Off the bat, I would tell you Starlight tends to have better details that I prefer over Protovision, but again, it really comes down to personal preference. It's also interesting to see the smaller details, like the lilies in the hair, how different they are, how fine the hair is between the two, the small lace details, how that's handled. In this particular example, I prefer Starlight over Protovision. Those of you that know my channel well, I have to throw in my Carnage, Venom hybrid prompt. And for me personally, this is a bit of a toss-up. Protovision on the left here, it's got more depth of field happening. The base SDXL model with Venom prompts tend to give him crazy hands, which is understandable, but the hands look really good. I like the details. A little more tamed than Starlight here. Again, great hands. You're going to find with both models, the hands are very comparable. Starlight added a little mutant thing here. Not as much depth of field, I find, even though it was in the prompt, which can be a good thing because for a scene like this, you do want to see the background most of the time. I find with SDXL base models, there's a little too much blur in there sometimes. Personally, I would say a toss-up, but I'd give a slight edge to Starlight, only because all the other images I generated with this prompt, I preferred the Starlight version. Now, I will say for armor, I prefer Starlight a lot more than Protovision. Not that Protovision doesn't do well. In terms of aesthetics, I just find with Starlight, the smaller details make the most difference. Like it picked up the gold here, while in Protovision, there really isn't any gold, even though it's in the prompt. Both look amazing, but if you look at the helmet details here, it's much more detailed and defined. Both of the hands do pretty well, and we all know gripping weapons in AI images is one of the weaknesses overall. But if we look at the right hand on both of them, they look really good. Here's another armor variation with Starlight on the right, Protovision on the left. With the same prompt, you see that it picks up the background a bit better, where this one doesn't really have one. But if we're judging just the armor detail, this is going to be a running theme. I just prefer Starlight a bit more. And the weight handles the details. Like if we look at the shoulder armor here, the layers it has here, the detail overall. Again, not to say Protovision doesn't look better. You may actually prefer this over the other one. Another example with Starlight on the left here, Protovision on the right. Similar story in terms of the details. This time the background gets picked up really well. When it comes to this Biomechanical Tiger prompt, you see both look great. I love the wires and the cables that it shows here on Protovision. It's not as evident on Starlight. We do have some extra tails happening on both, but I like the setting sun here. The details in the background are much nicer, more pleasing. And that's another thing I'm noticing with Starlight is that the backgrounds in your prompt, it gets picked up really well. I can tell this model was trained very meticulously. I do prefer the claw-like hands and feet of the tiger over this one. In this example of Jimi Hendrix, yes, I know he's left-handed. I didn't bother flipping the image. And for Protovision, we see we have a little bit of an extra guitar neck here, which is fine. I try not to cherry pick images. I want to show you guys what they actually look like before post-production. But if you look at the color details, the splashes here in the background, much more defined and prominent in the Starlight image. Both of the hands don't look too well on the left hand here, but on the right hand they look really good. Once again, I just prefer the overall image of Starlight. The details are much cleaner, more defined. In all fairness, for this seed, Protovision performs very well. I mean, the hands look really good. The glow in the background is nice. It's got that rim light effect. And then we have Starlight's version here, but it followed the prompt because it was more of a half body shot, where Protovision was slightly more of a portrait shot, chest up, but both very good images. For me, it's always about smaller details. If we look at Starlight's version here, the colors on the head, the colors on the chest here of this mechanical dragon prompt. Although Protovision handles the details very well, I like the color on the wings. It's the smaller details that make the biggest difference, like this flare in the background, particles. I mean, both have the particles, but overall, just a more pleasing image in terms of the colors. In this case, I like both. Again, it's just more the color distribution here works a lot better on Starlight. When it comes to cars, from my own personal testing, Starlight tends to perform a little better than Protovision. I find Protovision gives it more of a roundish type of sports car feel, almost toy-like, whereas Starlight looks like those CGI video game images that you see. It definitely honors the prompt a lot more than Protovision. Not to say that you can't get good results from it, but I just find with Starlight, it's a lot more accurate, it's got more details, and it honors the prompt very well. These images were a bit more fun, more of like a fantasy treehouse. Once again, Starlight on the right, Protovision on the left. We see the difference in the cotton candy trees, more details on Starlight, where these ones were just kind of rounded. I do like the one rainbow here where we have multiple rainbows. The details of the little houses here at the top, once again, comes down to personal preference. My demon bass player, I actually preferred Protovision's version here. It just fit the prompt a bit better, even though I do like the details of Starlight here. Maybe more of the muted look, although I could prompt for that in Starlight too. It's definitely a toss-up between the two, but the running theme you'll see with Starlight, the way it handles the details is probably one of the better ones I've seen with 3D, 2.5D models. Couple more examples with Protovision on the left, Starlight on the right. Although the strings are a bit off here on both of them, once again the details are very comparable between the two. So you tell me, Protovision versus Starlight in this context, which do you prefer? And let me know in the comments below if there's any other models you want me to compare or you want me to check out. Until the next video, my friends, I'll see you when I see you.